Hello everyone, and welcome to my Bold and Beautiful Gossips 24 channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. The day began calmly in Los Angeles. It was one of those mornings that made the city feel pretty quiet. You might even think it was a place. That is not really what Los Angeles is like. The city is actually built on a lot of things and secrets. In the world of the Forrester family and the Spencer family, quiet mornings are usually not what they seem. Today was a good example of that. There was a lot of tension in the air. The Forrester family and the Spencer family could feel it. It was like a fog that you could not ignore. Dylan sat on the edge of the sofa in his living room. His apartment was not very big. He had a mug of coffee in his hands. The coffee was warm. He had not really drunk any of it. His mind was racing. It was racing faster than the coffee could wake him up. He had taken a test. It had given him a clear answer. He was going to be a father. This time it was not any child. This time it was Will's child. Dylan was going to be the father of Will's child. The truth was slowly hitting him over the few days since he first saw that little line that would change his life. He knew this news would be a deal to the people around him, and yet he felt happy deep down, a happy feeling that would not go away no matter how worried he got. The reality of this news was still sinking in. He was still feeling that quiet and stubborn joy that came with it, the news that would change his life forever, the news that was still hard to believe, the reality that was still sinking in, the truth about that little line. Being a father was something that had always been really tough for him. It was a deal and it made him feel anxious. At the same time, he really wanted to take care of this kid and make sure everything was okay. He could not stop thinking about Will. Will was a special person and he meant a lot to him. Every time they talked, even when they did not say much, Dylan felt like he was getting to know Will. Dylan wondered what Will would say when he found out that he was going to be a father. Would Will be happy about it? Would he be really scared? Dylan thought about Will. How he would react to the news that Dylan was having his child. Dylan was not sure if he was angry or not. One thing he did know for sure, this child was going to change everything for him and the people around him. This child would bind them together in ways that could never be broken. The child would have an effect on their lives, and Dylan knew that the child would tie them together forever. Dylan was thinking about a lot of things. At the time, RJ and Elektra were doing their own thing really far away. This couple, RJ and Elektra, they were always moving so fast like a big storm. RJ and Elektra had a lot of feelings like love, loyalty. They wanted to rebel against everything. People did not like that RJ and Elektra were together, but RJ and Elektra did not care, they just kept going. RJ and Elektra were very stubborn, they did what they wanted, even if it did not make sense to anyone, even if their family did not like it. This morning was really something. RJ and Elektra were not just talking about how they love each other. They were actually doing something about it. They were taking a step and making a commitment to each other. This was very exciting for RJ and Elektra. It was also very scary. RJ and Elektra did not ask anyone for their opinion. They did not wait for people to say it was okay. RJ and Elektra just packed one bag each. Left the city. They did this when it was still very early in the morning. The sun was just coming up. Everything was quiet. RJ and Elektra left a note behind. The note was like a love letter. It was also like they were saying they do not care what other people think. Their plan was not careless, it was something they thought about a lot. They wanted to make sure they had their life, their own way of doing things without their families breathing down their necks. Every step they took to get to the car to start this part of their life made them feel more sure about what they were doing. They had been thinking about this for months. Now it felt right. The people in the car, they belonged to each other. What other people thought did not matter to them. Their families could say what they wanted. It would not change the fact that they were meant to be together. The streets of Los Angeles looked like a movie as they drove away. The city got smaller and smaller behind them. They were excited to start their life together. The future was like an empty page just waiting for them to make their mark. Even though they were happy to be leaving, they knew they could not forget about what might happen next. This secret trip they took together would affect their families in a way. It would be like a storm that would surprise everyone, including the families of Los Angeles. The elopement would change everything for the families like a storm changes the weather. Dylan was back. The morning was full of planning and fear and excitement all mixed up. He had to tell Will something, and just thinking about it made his chest feel tight. Dylan thought about what Will would look like when he found out. He pictured Will's face and the way the light would be in his eyes. Dylan knew Will would have a lot of questions that he would not say out loud. What would they call the baby? The baby was going to change their lives. They would have a lot of new things to think about. The baby would change what they had to do every day. It would affect their families too. Dylan and Will had to figure out how to make this work with their families. Dylan knew that every decision he made was a deal now. It was not about him, it was about his child too. His child was completely dependent on him. The choices he made. Dylan wanted to be a man for his child. Even though he was feeling really upset and unsure, he felt of calm inside. He was sure that he could handle whatever happened. Dylan was sure that he could be the man his child needed him to be. He could take care of his child. Make good decisions for him. Life has a way of teaching us that things do not always go as planned. The path we are on is never easy. We will always have to deal with problems. It is worth it to keep moving forward. We have to take things one step at a time. Life is about taking steps towards the things that are important to us. These things are more important than feeling good for a while or being scared. The things that matter are what make life worth living. We have to keep walking towards life. The news that RJ and Electra ran off and got married spread fast to the Forrester and Spencer families. Phones started ringing like crazy. People sent emails and text messages were flying everywhere, all saying the thing. RJ and Electra are gone. They got married in secret. The way people reacted was instant. It was a reaction, and it was exactly what you would expect when you hear that RJ and Electra got married without telling anyone. People felt let down, others were mad. Some were okay with the young couple's decision to do what they wanted. They were willing to leave behind what people expected of them, their family, and the way things were done. Every time they talked about it, it brought up hurts, made people remember things they were angry about a long time ago, and made all the grown-ups think about things that made them uncomfortable, like love being in charge and how nothing really stays the same in a family. The couple's decision made people think about these things, and it was not easy for them. The city was full of secrets and dramas. It stopped for a moment. It was like the city was holding its breath. This was because of what RJ and Electra decided to do. The effects of RJ and Electra's decision started to spread out. It touched the lives of people in ways nobody really knew what would happen because of RJ and Electra's decision. Dylan was really worried about becoming a father. He knew that telling Will about the baby was not about saying something new. It was about planning a life together. Dylan wanted the baby to have a father who could love them and be brave for them. The idea of taking care of Will's baby, being there for the time they cry, the first time they walk, made Dylan feel happy and scared at the same time. He could not sleep because he was thinking about all of this. Dylan thought about the baby, Will, a lot. He wanted to be a father to the baby and a good partner to Will. He thought about how Will's need to protect would clash with his own and the fights they would have about how to raise their kid. They would have arguments and really talk things through, and that would help them figure out how to raise their child. Even though he was a little scared, he could not help but feel really excited. He felt like he had a reason to do things, something that made him feel more alive than anything else ever had. This feeling was so strong that it helped him not worry much about the bad things that could happen, and it gave him a sense of hope that stayed with him even when he was feeling really down. Across town, people were really surprised when they heard that RJ and Electra had run away together. Their family members were trying to figure out why they did it, how they planned it, and when it all happened. They thought that if they could understand what RJ and Electra did, they could somehow make it not have happened. The fact that RJ and Electra ran away together made everyone think about their fears and desires that they had not thought about in a long time. For some people, it made them think about the choices they had made and the things they really wanted to do, had not done because of what other people expected of them. RJ and Electra's escape was like a wake-up call for their family members, making them think about RJ and Electra and what they had done. For some people, this was a lesson that you cannot always be in control. It showed them that when love starts to happen, it is very hard to stop. The city is always busy with people trying to get and make plans, but for a little while everything slowed down. Everyone was trying to understand what had just happened. They were thinking about how two young people had done something that changed what it means to be in charge of your own life. The city and its people were surprised by the love of these two hearts. Love had shown that it can make changes and that two people can take charge of their own destiny. As the day went on, Dylan finally found the courage to contact Will. He thought about what he wanted to say to Will. Each word he wrote was very important to him. He stopped for a moment before he sent the message to Will. This was a deal for Dylan. He thought about how Will would react to the message. Dylan thought Will might be happy or he might not believe what he was reading. Maybe Will would even be angry. Dylan prepared himself for anything that could happen with Will. The baby was a sign of things to come. It showed them that they could have love and a new start. This baby was already changing the way people in the family felt about each other. It was making things more complicated. In a good way. The baby was bringing feelings and responsibilities into their lives. Dylan sent a message. Then he felt a big sense of responsibility. He did not feel overwhelmed by it. Instead, he felt like it was a promise and a new beginning for him and the baby. The baby was a challenge. It was also a chance for Dylan to start fresh and do something good. RJ and Electra kept on driving through the suburbs that seemed to go on. The wind was blowing through their hair. They were not sure what was going to happen. They were worried about how their families would react to RJ and Electra. They were also worried if their love for each other would be strong enough to get them through the times that were coming. At that moment, RJ and Electra did not care about any of that. They were happy to have escaped for a while and were enjoying the freedom of being alone together early in the morning. RJ and Electra were just living in the moment. That is all that mattered to them. They had each other. They had love. This love gave them the courage to start a life. They did not know what would happen in this life, but it felt like it was meant for them. As they moved forward, it felt like they were leaving their life behind. Their old life was full of people telling them what to do and judging them. Their new life was different. It was full of possibilities and excitement. The people in this life had hearts that beat together with the idea of having new adventures, meeting new people, and feeling passion. Love and life were full of surprises. They were ready to face them together with love, and with the idea of adventure, connection, and passion in their new life. The day came to a close in a quiet way. The city went back to how it is. The things that happened with these people were still on everyone's mind. Dylan's news was like a secret that was going to change Will's life in a big way. RJ and Electra took a chance, and it showed that when people really love each other, nothing can stop them. Love is a powerful thing when it is real. RJ and Electra's love and Dylan's news were still deals. Together, the events of the day painted a vivid portrait of lives intertwined with secrets, courage, and choice, revealing in stark, human detail the ways in which love could disrupt, redefine, and ultimately transform everything it touched. The day after Dylan found out he was going to have a baby with Will started slowly in Los Angeles. In this city, slow mornings do not always mean things will stay calm. Dylan was sitting at his kitchen table, holding a cup of coffee that was not warm anymore, looking out the window at the city waking up. When he saw the result on the test, he could not believe it. He felt happy. It was a weird feeling, like his whole world was turned upside down. Dylan was still trying to take it all, thinking about the baby he was going to have with Will. He had always thought that being a father would be tough. This was something else. The baby growing inside him was his to take care of. Will's too. It was hard to think about how big of a deal this was going to be. As he ran his thumb around the edge of his mug, he tried to picture what life would be, like how Will would feel about the baby and how people would react when they found out about the baby. The baby was going to change everything for him. Will. He was not sure what to expect. He thought about how his life would change and how Will's life would change and how the baby would affect their life together. My thoughts just kept going in circles. I was thinking about something. That would make me think of something else. It was like my mind was all mixed up with thoughts and happy thoughts at the same time. I felt afraid and hopeful and excited and nervous at once. These thoughts of fear and hope and excitement and anxiety just kept swirling in my head. Dylan thought about Will. He remembered the way Will looked at him, the kind things Will said to him, and the little things Will did to show he cared. Dylan wondered how Will would feel about this. Would Will be happy, scared? Try to take care of him too much? Maybe Will would feel all of these things at the time. The idea of going through this with Will, of holding Will's hand, made Dylan feel a pang in his chest. It was a feeling of wanting to be with Will and of wanting to keep Will safe. Dylan could not ignore this feeling. He thought about Will. How Will made him feel. Dylan thought about how much he wanted to hold Will's hand and get through this with Will. Being a father was something that scared Dylan and excited him at the time. But now fatherhood was not an idea, it was real. This baby was real. Dylan knew that from the moment the baby was born, everything else would seem less important. Dylan understood that he had to be brave, he had to find the strength to tell Will about the baby. No matter how Will reacted, Dylan could not back down from being a father or from telling the truth about fatherhood. Fatherhood was a deal and Dylan knew he had to face it head on. RJ and Elektra were driving on the highways that go around Los Angeles. They were far away from everything. They had packed some stuff, the important things they needed and a few things that meant something to them from their old life in the city. RJ and Elektra had not decided to run off and get married on a whim. They thought about it a lot. It was something they knew they had to do. They figured it was pointless to wait for people to say it was okay because that was never going to happen. RJ and Elektra just wanted to do what they wanted to do. Their love was always crazy and strong. Now it needed something to happen. The city got smaller and smaller behind them, and with each mile people's opinions and expectations did not matter much, so all that was left was how Elektra and RJ really felt. For Elektra, this freedom was amazing, it made her feel alive. For RJ, it was scary but exciting in a way that RJ could not really explain. RJ and Elektra were just being themselves. That was a big deal for RJ and Elektra. They both knew their decision was a deal. They understood that their families would feel hurt and betrayed by what they were doing. They did not want to give up what they had with each other. They really liked what they had found in each other. They did not want to lose that. Their families would be upset. They could not help how they felt about each other. They liked each other a lot. That is what mattered to them. Back in Dylan's apartment, he was really struggling to deal with the news. The idea of telling Will that she was pregnant was very scary. This was not something they could talk about and then forget. It was something that would change their lives forever. He thought about how Will would look when he found out, all the feelings he might have and all the questions he would probably ask. Would Will be okay with this news? Would he be totally overwhelmed? Would he be angry? Maybe he would feel all of these things at the time like Dylan was feeling right now about the pregnancy. Dylan felt like he had no idea what was going to happen. He was just waiting for it to all go down. Every moment he sat there with his coffee, he could feel all the things that might happen in the future bearing down on him. Dylan was going to do his best to be strong and be the kind of father this child needed. He wanted to be a father to this child, and he also wanted to figure out his relationship with Will. Dylan and Will's relationship had never been easy. It had always been important to Dylan. He wanted to make it work with Will because Will was someone who mattered to him. The morning, people started to hear about RJ and Elektra running off together. This news spread quickly through the Spencer family and the Forrester family. People's phones kept ringing. They were texting each other. It became clear that RJ and Elektra were gone and nobody knew where they were. Some people felt like they had been betrayed by RJ and Elektra. Others thought they were brave to do what they did. For a lot of people, it was a reminder that you cannot tell people who they can and cannot love. RJ and Elektra's decision was a deal for everyone. The families had to think about what they did to make things so bad that RJ and Elektra had to do something extreme. Old feelings of being mad and hurt came up. Every time they talked or reacted to something, it showed how complicated and real family relationships are. Some people felt shocked and angry. Others could not help but think that RJ and Elektra were really determined to be together, and that they really loved each other, and were not afraid to stand up for themselves. RJ and Elektra's love for each other was the reason they were so determined. It was clear that they would do anything to be together. Dylan finally talked to Will. He thought about what he was going to say carefully. Each word was important because it could change everything. Dylan thought about how Will might react. Will might be really excited or really scared. He might not know what to think. No matter what, Dylan felt like this was something big. This child was going to change everything for both of them. It was like they had a connection that could not be broken. This connection was going to make a difference in their lives, and it was going to be really good. Dylan felt sure about this. The child was going to bring Dylan and Will closer together, in a way that would change their lives forever. The moment he pressed send, he felt a sense of calm. It was like he knew that some things are just going to happen, and there is nothing he can do about it. He just had to accept it. The moment he pressed send was like a turning point for him. He realized that the email was sent and now it was out of his hands. The moment he pressed send was something he could not take back. RJ and Elektra were going on a journey that was taking them far from what they were used to.